fuck just happened? The show was all like, no, guys, seriously, it's just another hiatus. We'll continue season 2 soon. And then we're like, fine. And we wait for months. And then they're all like, no, guys, seriously, it's actually 2 seasons now. And then we're like, fine. And then they're like, also, we start season 3 in a month. And I'm like, oh, guys, seriously, give me a chance to keep up here. I mean, hot damn. I'm glad to get more Steven Universe and all, but that really shook up my schedule a fair bit. In any case, welcome, guys, to my top 10 favorite Steven Universe moments of season 2. And holy shit, do we have a lot to cover. Even with a half-length season, there are many great moments to be found. Filler episodes were cut down, the drama was ramped up to crazy degrees, and everything just moved so damn fast. It's been a hell of a ride. But before we begin with any of that, I've got this right here. This, guys, is a box full of the concerns that people had with my season 1 video. I'm sure addressing this will only take Alright. A lot of you were confused I didn't mention Stefani in the last video, and frankly with good reason. That whole thing was amazing. Thing is, when I was making those videos, I wanted to both have the softer comedy moments and the heavier drama moments to show off the variety of the show. Stefani would have been in the top 10, but it was all so full of serious and dramatic moments that I wanted to balance things out a bit. Which meant I made a decision that I ended up regretting. It doesn't mean that I love any of the moments I mentioned in the last video less, but it does mean I made a bad call regarding choosing to exclude Stefani of all things. So that's how it was, guys. That's the real explanation. We cool? We cool? We cool. Good. Now then, you know the drill. There will be massive spoilers, and these are just to be seen as my personal favorite moments. They're not some official greatest hits list, just the moments that I personally like the most. Alright? Good. With that covered, let's get started. Ronaldo's documentary. Let's start off light. I'll admit I'm probably picking this episode based on bias with making short films myself and all, but this whole episode is both hilarious, cringe-inducing, and deeply nostalgic for me. As Ronaldo tries to make heads and tails of what happened in the season 1 finale, he sets out to make a documentary about how the crystal gems are a danger to their surroundings. He's just not very good at it.
But then, just as mysteriously as the space hand appeared, it exploded into an explosion.
What in blue blazes was that?
I think it was an explosion.
Unbelievable! I missed it!
Like some kind of wannabe Michael Moore, Ronaldo does his best to bend the facts in his favor and portray the gems as dangerous. And hilariously, he's not even above being a bit of a dick to his little brother while he's at it.
That day was crazy. The mayor said...
Were you scared?
What? No, I wasn't. I was just concerned that something bad would happen to the shop.
So you cried a lot?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Let it go!
Dad, no! Please, no!
But in all seriousness, I love this episode just for how amateurish the documentary looks. It looks like it was done in Windows Movie Maker and sloppily at that, and it's just priceless to look at. They got it so right. We got everything from lousy edits, man, I used to be a master of those, Comic Sans, weird transition effects, equipment trouble.
Speak up!
Right now, I'm standing directly below the Fortress of the Crystal Gems!
It's just good fun. Yeah, it's pretty silly, and no, it doesn't add anything to the story arc, but it really takes me back. I like it.
Click.
Rainbow Quartz. I love the flashback episodes, both to see the gems at a simpler time in their life, and to see a young Greg bumble about. But the real draw of them is getting to see Rose though, and to get to see that she wasn't quite as perfect as everyone says. Now, put down your pitchforks, and let me explain. Where so many episodes painted her as some paragon of love and justice, and we have had that at least partially justified, episodes like We Need to Talk and Story for Steven show a different side. Yes, she rebelled against the gem homeworld. Yes, she took in Garnet, but she didn't take Greg or humans in general all that seriously. She could be mischievous, insensitive, and occasionally condescending. In other words, she was a person. She had growing up to do, and I loved seeing her and Greg address that in We Need to Talk. After all, as Garnet puts it,
love takes time and love takes work.
But you all know that this isn't the moment from the episode that I picked. I just wanted to give a little context. To be perfectly honest, my favorite moment of that entire episode is Rainbow Quartz. Why? Because she's a goddamn spectacle, that's why. There they are, just jamming and recording for fun, and then all of a sudden, Rose and Pearl decide to troll Greg, and boom! Dancing 80s Space Babe. Holy shit. I'm pretty sure a couple jaws dropped in the audience along with Greg's. Now, I could go into a lot of detail and talk about how the fact that they fuse so easily seems to be a statement about their deep relationship without needing any dialogue, and I could talk about how I love the fact that Pearl is doing this just to be a bitch to Greg. But honestly, it just looks really cool. It happens in the middle of a great song. What more do I really need? Yellow Diamond is a
Claude.
Do you know that thing where something stops sounding like a word if you say it enough times? Peridot's reform was, in all honesty, one of the more interesting villain reforms I've seen in a show in a while. It didn't happen overnight, and we had just as much reason to believe she'd bail on it as that it would stick, creating some very real tension. So when after several episodes of bonding, Peridot lies and steals a communicator to contact her superior, it not only really stung, but asked a simple question. Who will she betray? The gems or Yellow Diamond? There are only those two choices, right? But amazingly, no! She tries to find a way to let both sides win. The Homeworld gems want the Earth for resources. The Earthlings kinda want to stay alive. So brilliantly, Peridot tries to barter for a trade, for gems to share their technology and in turn being given resources from Earth, giving her a way to stay true to herself without betraying either side. Do you have any idea how rare something like this is? Not just in cartoons, but in just about any story featuring a villain? This lets Peridot both reform and stay loyal to the Gem Homeworld without having to do a complete 180 on her personality just because she hung out with the heroes. It's really a brilliant move on her and on the writer's part. Of course, Yellow Diamond then turns out to be a spiteful bitch, leading to Peridot having her faith in her superior shattered. And to her most awesome moment to date.
You have failed at every stage of this mission. Your only chance to redeem yourself is to obey this simple order. You are to leave the cluster to grow. It will tear apart the Earth, and I will take immense satisfaction in erasing that hideous rock off of our star maps. Is that clear?
I won't do it! I can tell you with certainty that there are things on this planet worth protecting!
What do you know about the Earth?
Apparently more than you Claude!
And then she makes this face, and I completely lose my shit. I like to imagine that that's her standard reaction to anything she doesn't agree with. Like,
Lion, those are gross! That pizza wasn't even good. I like the ending of the book!
I love being a video editor. Steven's Nightmares. What? Did you honestly think I was gonna make a list like this and not include a horror moment or two? Do you even know me? Slumber parties are supposed to be fun, but when you're constantly worried about an undersea monster that is literally a fusion of your friend and one of your worst enemies that wants nothing more than to horribly murder you, sleep can be uneasy. But we all know what that's like, right? Right? Please tell me I'm not alone. I haven't slept for days. Anyway, in Chiletid, Steven's otherwise fun and whimsical dreams are interrupted either by worrying about Lapis Lazuli or by a genuine psychic connection with her. It's really not entirely clear. But to say the least, the intrusions are pretty horrifying.
Okay, I'm ready for the big dance Huh? Lapis?
There's honestly not much to say. It's just a freaky ass episode that shows just how stressful this whole situation actually is. But with that said, we all know that there is one moment in this episode so dark, so vile, and so evil that it puts the rest of them to shame. Something that sneaks deep inside the darkest depths of your heart and waits to clutch at it with icy cold fingers of death at any moment. A moment so terrifying that you will never forget it. Let's fuse. Oh, Peridot. Such an adorable little two-legged Dorito. Look at her bumbling about, trying to understand basic human things and mistaking brushes for weapons. So whimsical, so amusing. I remember wanting to bash you with a shovel and stick you face first into the nearest meat grinder. When Peridot first showed up, and in almost all of her appearances afterwards, she was a truly vile villain. She did absolutely unspeakable things, and never seemed to show the slightest hint of remorse at just how cruel and disgusting most of it was. So it speaks volumes of how well done her entire reform was, when they could take someone this irredeemable and make her funny, endearing, and lovable. I mean, remember that time she mass robbed the battlefield graveyard, resurrected the corpses, and then had them metaphorically rape each other just to see what would happen? That was fun. But look at her, she's wearing pink cat stilts and boxer shorts. Oh, she's so cute! For all of the legit bonding moments, Lockdate 7152 is my favorite though. Simply because the whole thing is hysterically funny, and shows us some of the little moments during her reform. But the best in a sea of hilarity for me is when she confronts Garnet about how she just can't understand why they're a permanent fusion. Garnet's way of explaining it is priceless.
Really?
If you really want to understand fusion, I can help you.
What do you mean?
Let's fuse.
Stars!
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Gem Booty Call. Oh sure, in context they're dancing, but I think we all know what fusion really means in the show by now. I mean look, she's even putting on mood music. What a pimp! Jam buddies. Alright, there's an alarming lack of Pearl-centered moments on this list. Let's put in some Pearl drama. What? This moment is more about Steven and Connie? God damn it! Sworn to the Sword is, overall, probably one of the best episodes of the whole season if you were to ask me. Connie asking Pearl to teach her proper sword fighting leads to so many cool things. Connie growing as a character, hilarious callbacks to a scary episode from last season, a wonderful song, great character moments, and, most importantly, adorable bonding between Steven and Connie. Well, that and we got Pearl going psycho again.
Concentrate. Don't you want him to live? Why won't you just let me do this for you, Rose?
I hope you two are taking this seriously.
Yes, ma'am.
Or what, you're gonna abduct them for 50 years? Again?
Call the police.
Anyway, my focus really is on Connie and Steven here. Seeing them team up on Pearl and openly defy the ages-old giving your life for another trope so prevalent in fantasy and action shows is both badass and adorable. Look how well they work in unison against Pearl. How can anyone doubt that these two will be able to take on anything the universe can throw at them? That, and it leads into another great moment. But we'll get to that. Too bad about the lack of Pearl moments on this list though. But don't worry, Pearl, I still love you. Now start wearing the skirt again. She is a dancer! She has the slim build, she has the long legs, she has the ballet shoes. It's the only sensible design choice. Life and Death and Love and Birth. Say, ever looked at a show and thought, I'm so confused about all this? If only there was a sweet little song that perfectly summarizes the themes of not just the current story arc, but the show as a whole with just a few lines. If so, you're in luck, because that's exactly what this song does. I mean, the part about the show's themes is easy. Life is precious and worth keeping intact. Life and death and love and birth and so on and so forth. It's short, sweet, and practically undeniable. What strikes me more is the verse Steven urges Peridot to come up with.
I guess we're already here. I guess we already know. We've all got something to fear. We've all got nowhere to go. I think you're all insane, but I guess I am too. Anybody would be if they were stuck on Earth with you.
Yes!
Well, according to my arm, Peridot just summed up her entire character arc in 16 seconds. That's gotta be some kind of record. Not just that, it perfectly shows how well they bonded in an instant. Think about it. Peridot is willfully performing something she barely understands in front of people she otherwise considers her enemies. And they're sitting down willing to listen. No one takes offense to the insane part, which in turn is basically her admitting that they're starting to rub off on her. Which of course makes what happens later sting even harder, but never mind that, Peridot is being cute. Peridot? More like Peridorable, am I right? Connie and her mother talk. Ha! 2 horror episodes! I did it! Spread darkness! Spread! Sorry. To quickly recap, in this episode, Mrs. Maheshwaran, am I saying that right? I feel like I'm never saying that right. Confiscates the sword that belonged to Steven's mother, thinking in a moment of confusion that Connie is playing with swords, and takes it with her to the hospital where she works.
Yes, the children are playing swords. Sorry, playing with swords.
Huh. I guess she was right. So naturally, the two go there to take it back. But taking advantage of the inherent creepiness of hospitals, things get pretty dark pretty fast. Oh hey look, it's one of Peridot's rape pets. That's nice. Good thing she's reformed, huh? Also, an episode about doctors and artificial life forms. Nice touch there, Crewniverse.
Dr. West ain't gonna like it.
Well, Dr. West isn't here.
Ah, delicious. Please, do keep feeding me. So, after escaping the hospital, Connie and Mrs. Maheshwaran finally have a talk they should have had a long time ago.
Mom, I'm really sorry about lying to you. It started off as a tiny secret, and then it felt like if I didn't hide it, you wouldn't let me see Steven ever again.
Is that how you feel? Are we too controlling?
Maybe.
I find that one of the hardest things to do in writing is to write an argument where no one is inherently in the wrong or is being the bad guy. No, Connie shouldn't hide these dangerous things from her parents, that's a given. But frankly, their behavior, as much as it's rooted in protectiveness, was starting to look a lot like emotional abuse, and things could have gone really wrong really fast if they didn't have this talk. But, thankfully, the two decide to listen to each other.
It scares me that you can't talk to me. I need to know what's happening in your life. I need to step in when you're in over your head. Will you just promise me you'll stop all this lying?
That's a rule.
I love you, honey.
I love you too, Mom.
It's adorable, it's inspiring, it's perfect. What a great moment. Steven's Lament. We all know the drill. I have a lot of enemies. They'll go after my loved ones. The only rational course of action is to be a huge asshole to all of them without ever explaining why, so they'll abandon me. That way they'll all be safe. This trope is older than dirt by now, and frankly it's starting to get really annoying. Peter Parker is hardly the only guy guilty of this, but he is the most persistent example. And that's why it was so refreshing when the entire season premiere was a loud resounding fuck you to this trope. After the events of the season 1 finale, Steven is understandably shaken up by how real things got. And Ronaldo then convinces him that it's best to keep people out of the loop for their own sake. Which means Connie. But Connie constantly calls Steven to know if he's okay, which then leads to a whole song of Steven coming to the decision to try never to see her again. I love this song! It's catchy as hell, and it sums up both Steven's reactions to everything that's happened and the usual in-universe justifications for this trope in a couple minutes, rather than some multi-episode story arc with a lot of fake drama crammed in. It's awesome!
What if somehow you get hurt? What do? I don't want that for you. Ooh. Ooh.
And from a musical standpoint, I simply adore how this episode leads into this song using Steven's ringtone as a stepping stone to build a melody, constantly reminding us Connie is worried, really hammering in how Steven cannot keep her out of his head. Hell, I like it so much that it's the notification noise on my phone. What? I'm a fan. Shut up. Thankfully, Connie, being the little badass she is not having it. The same girl that originally thought no one would miss her if she drowned refuses to back down unless Steven tells her directly to her face that he doesn't want to see her again. Which, of course, he can't.
Well?
I still want to be friends!
Steven, your eye! What happened to you?
I didn't want you to worry about it.
I've been worried sick all day. What do you think I'm doing here?
I just wanted to protect you.
Stop. Just tell me everything.
Ha! See that? Fuck off, Peter Parker. That's what looking out for your loved ones looks like. Please don't actually fuck off. I love Spider-Man. Don't leave me. But yeah, like so many other great conflict-solving moments in this show, the two talk it over and settle on supporting each other rather than bearing everything themselves. Such a wonderful scene. Just, Steven, next time, next time maybe don't take advice from the guy that abducted you and tried to kill you because he thought you were a snake, okay? Okay, good talk, buddy. Ruby and Sapphire fight. God, I want to end this on a much happier note, but I can't lie to myself. This is my favorite moment of season 2, and heavy as it is, we're gonna talk about it. Needing to get away after Pearl's massive dick move during the whole Sardonyx affair, Garnet joins Steven and Greg on a trip to a small motel, but is so angry that she splits into Ruby and Sapphire, who refuse to talk to each other about how to deal with the situation, leaving Steven in the middle. That alone is pretty heartbreaking, even if it leads to a few humorous moments.
Oh boy, where's the other one?
She's pacing around in what used to be the pool.
But eventually the argument comes to a head and Steven has enough of it. And when Sapphire and Ruby snap out of it long enough to worry about him, he has this to say.
Steven! I was so happy when Garnet said she was gonna come on this trip with me and Dad. Home's been awful. Here's been awful. I thought you wanted to have a fun time, but everyone's been acting awful too. It just came with us. I don't understand. Is it me?
Look, I'm not gonna bore you with the details, but to say the least, I've had to listen to my parents have their fair share of fights. More than their fair share of fights. Loud fights, long fights, and not always over something worth fighting over. And I can tell you that what Steven says right here, that's exactly what goes through a child's head in that situation. It's confusing and it's awful, and it can really sit in you for a very long time. Realizing this, the gems are absolutely horrified.
But we made him feel like it was his fault. I keep looking into the future when all of this has already been solved, as if it doesn't matter how you feel in the present. No wonder you think I don't care. Sapphire.
Remember in my last video when I made the point that adults need a little bit of guidance and confidence too? We're dipping into that a little again here. We don't always know how to best deal with a situation, and sometimes that can hurt the people around us. I think Greg puts it best.
Sometimes people that love each other can hurt each other's feelings without meaning to.
And that's the whole core of the Sardonyx arc right there. Mistakes, hurt, and thankfully, reconciliation.
Oh, you look like you all had fun.
Yeah, it all worked out.
Garnet, how are you?
Not now.
She's speaking to me again. Kind of.
The latter may take some time, but it is possible. It's worth working toward, and it may ultimately make us better people. And that is what I love about this whole scene. Whew! Man, I'm sorry to end the episode on such a heavy note, but I like to think that like the show itself, I managed to at least end it on a hopeful one too. We still have a lot ahead of us. Peridot still has to deal with abandoning her entire culture. The cluster is still out there waiting to tear the Earth apart. And Lapis is still slowly losing control over Malachite. We've got a lot to look forward to, and I can't wait to see how it turns out when Season 3 starts. Which, by the time of posting this video, is today. Like, probably right now. Why am I just sitting here? Where's the remote? Where's the remote? Where's the remote? Hey guys, and thanks so much for watching. That season split really caught me with my pants down, but I hope you liked this list all the same. If you did, please press like, comment, subscribe, and show it to your friends. And please, let me know what moments you would put on your own list in the comments. I'd love to read it. You can see my list of favorite moments from Season 1 right here, and there's plenty more where that came from on my channel. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, all of which have links in the description. See you next time, everybody!